Hey everybody, I just wanted to come on here to record a video about how to talk to kids about funerals. And this came up because during a team meeting, one of my team members has to take her young children to a funeral. Now, it's not the first time, but they are a little bit older, where the youngest one is 5. So they'll have different questions as opposed to when they were much younger. So as kids age and grow, they can think about funerals, death, dying really differently depending on which developmental stage they're at. So even though they've been to a funeral before, say at age 3, now that they're turning 5 or 6 or 7, they might have different questions. It's not that they forgot about your whole conversation or that they've been to it, but cognitively just have different things. So she was asking, how do I even approach the topic? And a lot of times you don't get to know that you're about to attend a funeral till like maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks in advance at most. So you don't have a lot of time to prep. So I wanted to share a few things that I told her that I hope might be helpful to anybody else, any other parents, caregivers, friends, who even teachers, just natural helpers of the kids to know maybe how to prep them. So one thing I did talk about was that you don't need to explain things in huge long segments. So you don't have to give like a dissertation about death, dying. You don't have to talk about everything that may or may not happen, but really small chunks. So follow the child's lead, whether they are 5, 6, 7, or 10, 12, 13, right? Follow their lead, answer the question as best as you can, and know that you can answer them in small chunks. So a little bit at a time is fine. The conversation is still going as they become more curious, more connected, more comfortable or uncomfortable with what's happening around them. Another thing I wanted to bring up is use books. Sometimes it's hard to bring up difficult topics such as death and dying, especially if you're grieving the person that you're about to visit at the memorial, right? There are lots of feelings in the adults too that we want to honor and respect and also appreciate, while we at the same time help our kids and help the kids in our lives. So books can be a good way and a more maybe approachable way to just open up the topic so that there's nothing too awkward about it, and use the book as the conversation starter. So there are 2 books that I would recommend. One book is Moving in Forever, the book that I wrote, but you don't necessarily have to read through the whole thing if you don't have time. What sometimes I do to help prep some kids in my life for a funeral, or kids that I work with, or even families, is I turn to a specific page, because maybe sometimes in the busyness of life and the hecticness of schedules, kids' schedules, you only have time for a small conversation. And just know this won't be your only conversation, right? So there's this page inside Moving in Forever where the family goes to the cemetery. So even when I read this book to kindergartners, preschoolers, first graders, even as young as that, all the way to 8th graders and freshmen, stopping at this page, you see this page? Stopping at this page, they're able to just see what is happening at a cemetery. And this is one way that families honor those who have died, right? Not everyone buries the body in a cemetery, but this is one way. And if it happens to be the way your family does that, then this will be more relatable. But this is one way. And kids have seen this in movies, cartoons, all the time. They might even pass by like cemeteries too. So I think here, stopping here, and it says, we missed her so much. Just stopping here and just talking about, what do you have questions about? Have you seen this before? And if I'm in like a group setting or even with my own kids, I give them these little like post-it tabby things to tab on places that they've seen and places that they've never seen. And this really helps prepare them to explore in this very low stress, low stakes setting where you're very present to answer these questions before you get to the cemetery and see all this stuff, and they won't know what to do, what to say, how to ask, and they'll just be keeping it all pent up. But at least this gives them the exposure. So maybe they'll put a tab on a headstone or point to it. Or what kind of limo is this? Is this a limo? What is that? And what are these other people doing here? So just answer as best as you can and as small chunks as you can. This is a headstone People put that there to put the name of the person who died and is buried there. This is a hearse. It looks like a limo, definitely, because it's really long, right? But that's also where you put the coffin. So, as objective and as factual as you can. And these people here are there to maybe honor and remember a person in their lives who have died. So, this cemetery is a place for lots of families and friends, neighbors and teachers and loved ones to visit the grave of those who have died, right? As simple as that. You might see these flowers. Are we going to see this? Is this what's going to happen? Are dogs allowed? Are cats allowed? So answer to the best of your ability. And remember, it's also okay to say, I don't know. I don't know. That's a great question, though. Or you have to give a short answer because that's what the time allows. You know what? That's such a good question. I'm noticing that you're observing a lot of things, and I'm glad that you told me. I'm glad that you asked. Right now, this is my answer, but I really want to come back to it and answer more fully when we get the chance. So just know that I heard you, and I'm so glad you asked, and I'm so glad that you told me, right? Validate what they're asking. Don't dismiss it, even though it might seem small or maybe inconsequential to you. The kids are asking and wondering because it's consequential to them. Another book I would recommend is this book, When Dinosaurs Die. This is an older book, so you might have to find it used. I think it's still available online, I'm not sure. But in here, it gives a very inclusive look on ways that different families have different traditions and customs. There's a page in here that talks about getting ready for the funeral. And there's a page where little kids are asking questions about the coffin. There's also a page that talks about different customs. So it might be a custom to burn incense, it might be a custom to pray together, it might not be, it might be a custom to cremate. But what this does is this gives a lot of different ways to remember, a lot of different ways to ask, and a lot of different pictures to see and point. And really, for you and your family as the adults in the kids' lives, to look for things that align with your beliefs, right? This will tell them all, not all the things, but a lot of different ways families honor the person that died. And it might not be your family's way, but you can say, these are a lot of ways other families. And this particular one is like ours, right? That gives them kind of understanding, especially if they go back to school, go back to class, or go to team sports and talk about it and realize other kids might have a different experience, and that's all okay, right? So those are some ways that I would kind of suggest going about it. Definitely prepare them in some sort of fashion and let them know that it's okay to ask questions. Let them know it's okay to have whatever feelings. At the funeral, at the cemetery, I like to prepare a little kit for kids, age appropriately, so that they can focus on something else when all the things are happening. Because a lot of times at memorial services, when kids are there are a lot of formalities that have to happen, which kids are not used to. They're used to maybe a school structure, but this is something that doesn't happen all the time, so they don't know what's happening next. And for some kids who are more anxious about that, they need a break. They need a way to engage in something else while still being present, still participating. A lot of funerals have a break room for kids and families, direct families of the person that died, but if that's not your kid, they might not have access to that. So prepare a little bag of comfort items. Some things I like to put in there when I prepare them for other families is something soft and cuddly that they can hold, whether it's a soft fidget, whether it's a teddy or a stuffed toy, something to draw and write with, a notebook, a journal. A lot of times I bring in the creative grief journals that we have, my book of stuff. So I bring that because it has stickers, right? It has stickers, they can put it in there, and it has lots of different formats. Anyone interested in a kit, a comfort kit for kids at funerals, please let me know, email me. And I think when you put in some of those comfort items, there's at least something for them to do that is not that, right? And maybe bring the book that you use to talk about death and dying. Bring the book that you use to talk about funerals and cemeteries, so they can, reference it and refer it. And it'll feel a little bit more familiar because they saw it before it all happened. And just know that all you need to do is the best you can do under the circumstances. We never have perfect information, we never have perfect preparation, but your intentions are there to keep them safe and keep them connected and show that you care. All right, that's my tidbit. I hope that was helpful. I hope to come on and just share some, just share learnings and share things that we do in hopes that it helps other people, because this is tough stuff and it takes a village. Okay, thanks. Drop me a line if you have any questions.